Hello, and welcome back to the Thursday Night Kissaten podcast. Thursday Night Kissaten is a podcast that we talk about Japanese TV shows, movies, books, and other pop cultures. We update weekly every Thursday night around 5 p.m. This podcast is written and hosted by me, Cordelia. Hello, my dear listeners. Welcome back to the Thursday Night Kissaten podcast. I have to apologize for skipping last week's update. Things got a little bit hectic. I ran into some troubles with people, and on top of that, my injured leg fractured up, and then it was a lot of pain. So I guess winter isn't helping, and it's making my leg get up a lot. And well, there's some people that require me to, how can I say that, more attention. Yeah, needing a lot of attentions from me. So that's, I have to go ahead and deal with that. But anyway, let's move on. Today's episode, we're going to diving back into the Taiga drama last year production, Hikaru, Kimi, with the part 2. So for the first ever Taiga drama that is based on the Heian Period, it is amazing, fascinating how much attention that they give to the detail, especially in showing the character's handwriting. Every character took professional calligraphy license and learning from certificate experts and on how to use an ink brush on the soft paper. Thanks to their really hard work, and the calligraphy in this production was absolutely stunning. I had no idea. I thought they actually found some professional people to write for them and while they're filming their back. But no, it's all their own work. So, another here is a very interesting fact that the main character, Mahiro, was played by Yuriko Yoshitaka. She's actually a left-handed in real life. But for this role, for this production, she had to learn to write with her right hand using an ink brush. Not just a pen, it's an ink brush. Everyone, it's hard. I remember I took those classes and my teacher hates my writing and he kept laughing about it. Oh, very discouraging. So, but that takes her the dedication to do that. So the effort and the time these actors put into this Taiga drama productions are honestly jaw-dropping. Now, about this main character, Mahiro. In this production, the writer given the fiction name to Mahiro to the historical figure that we all know, Murasaki Kishibu. And here you may ask, why? Well, why fiction name? Isn't a Taiga drama, as we had in the episode Taiga drama 101, that the Taiga drama is supposed to be based on real and true historical events? Yeah, sure, they tried, but this is a production, an entertainment production. Of course, there'll be fiction portion of it. But for this name, why is Mahiro that is a fictional? Was because no one knows her real name. No one knows what Murasaki Kishibu, her real name is. And in fact, here's the fun fact. Not fun fact, but truth fact that most female in the Heian period didn't have their names recorded. In historical archives, women were barely mentioned at all. And even when they were, they often had no names. Murasaki Shikibu isn't a real name. Murasaki means the purple of color, and Shikibu reference to her father's job title. Similarly, the writer Sei Shonako, the author of the Pillow Book, and Izumi Shikibu, the author of the Diaries of Izumi Shikibu, are known by titles, not names. You know, we have been talking about this, right? When we're looking into every single TV shows that we see this kind of thing, the lack of naming is also the root of the misogyny. An assistant designed to erase a woman's identity. Not even mention them. Okay, even when we mention them, we only mention their father's title. But even today, right? Even today, you can see still that resonate to a lot of other situations. One of my favorite writer, Deborah Levine, that in her nonfiction book, The Cost of Living, wrote about that how her male colleagues often forgot names of the women they met at the social events, and instead referring them to as someone's wife or girlfriend or co-worker. And here what she wrote, she said, if we don't have names, who are we? Even it took us a little bit of time to think and sit there to think about this. In a lot of historical records or archives, women, first of all, barely being mentioned, or even when they're being mentioned, we don't mention their name. Or when we're mentioning their name, like some Chinese historical archives, they're only the woman that caused of the tragedy. It's the woman that caused some failures. It's always the woman. Of course, because it's his story, not her story. Of course, that's what they're doing. But think about this. It is amazing how women like Murasaki Kishibu, like, say, Shonako, broke through the system. They wrote so beautifully, so powerfully, that even the society's misogyny couldn't ignore them anymore. Of course, we don't know their name, but they're in the historical records. Their works have endured of overs of thousands of years and providing their brilliance and their existing as a female writers. This is, as a writer myself, I respect them heavily. And also, by the way, both the Seishonakon and Izumi Shikibu actually made appearance in this production of the Hikaru Kimi, and actress playing them did an incredible job. Oh, it was beautiful. It was amazing, both of them. Especially the actress for the Izumi Shikibu. Oh gosh, she's stunning. And I just figured out that she actually was debuted as a model. But here's something that I also noticed. Both Sei Shonakon and Izumi Shikibu in this production, in this, under the screenwriter's hand, that they both left their homes and the role of the motherhood, and then they left their role of the motherhood to work professionally in the court. And 1,000 of years ago, this women were chasing their literary dreams, even if it meant to going against the society norms. And yet, even today, right? Think about this. They all left home. That was 1,000 years ago. People kind of talking about them in their back, but they didn't care. And yet, until today, even today, if a mother leaving home for work can still be seen abandoning their children. This is misogyny. This is we're giving the woman that their job, the only thing that fits into their identity is to stay at home with their kids and limit them to their own capacity and abilities. And they only believe in telling the woman, keep brainwashing them, saying that the being a mother should be a woman's only role. So you're not allowed to abandon your kids. Leaving your home is abandonment. I actually talked to this a little bit with one Uber driver. I was riding their car one day. It happened like last week. And he told me, he was like, well, this is what it's supposed to be. No, this is never what it's supposed to be. I'm not saying that I'm against the role of mother, but I'm just saying that's not supposed to be only one role that to limit to females. They can be a mother and be a writer. They can be a mother, also be a boss. They can be a mother, also the principal. They can be everything, right? It's like the man. They all been being mentioned as a scientist, but no one mentioned that they're father. They can be father and scientist, but how come no one even paid attention at that? Why did no one tell a man that their job is to be a father? And that's what the meaning of their life. So that's what the misogyny is. But I'm very glad that in this production, they looked into this and did not really shame those women, but showed their talent and the importance of themselves and to play into the power in the court dramas. On the other hand, it was a beautiful written production for sure. And we will, because this is the first ever the production that based on the Heian time period, so there definitely need to people understand a little bit the transitions to the rankings in the royals and how those people, their family background, are supporting them to work in that time period. So based on what I have read, and what I have learned, that only the court servants they ranked at level 5 or above were considering as aristocrat. So, also means kuge in Japanese. The daughters of these families lived vastly different lives depending on their father's rank. Also, the sons, but daughters for sure. So here's the thing, for example, in this production, there's one part that like Mahilo, she actually grew up in her family house, and then, but in the real history that this family house now is a temple and called Lozanji in Kyoto. So if you ever visit Kyoto, please, if you have time, please check it out. It is not just a big house, but her great-grandfathers who had been highly ranked as level 4 in the court, and her father, however, was not as like high ranking, which meant that Mahilo had been had the more freedom than most the other aristocrat family's daughters. Means that what? She was able to go out. She was able to receive an education by her father. She was educated as a male, and she lived in a life that allowed her to become the writer we all now celebrate it for. There's one thing, they did not really directly say it in this production, but there was one thing in the drama where Michinaka's wife asked Mahilo how she met her husband and when their relationship began. And Mahilo replies that the first time she met him was when she was 9 years old. And the wife was shocked. And she was surprisingly and said, 9? How do your parents even allow you to go out? This is they even because all the others higher rankings of families, prestigious families, they're so prejudiced. They don't need to go out. They don't need to go out to buy things. They don't need to work. They don't need to leave their home. That's how privileged they are, because outside means danger. Of course, outside means danger, but they have the privilege that they don't even need to think about leaving. This reminds me of something that I have experienced, that many international students that I have met from China was surprisingly, not just China, from many different places, they surprised when I told them that I had to work part-time while studying. And they said, how come your parents don't give you money? How come they let you be here when they don't have money to give you? And the reaction is almost identical as Michinaka's wife. How did your parents let you go out? But for Mahilo, that who has to write, who is not just has to write, that she actually finds the purpose of her life by going out, her house and her home, her protection. After her husband's death, Murasaki Kishibu actually had to work. with this little income from her father was not enough for this house to maintain the house. She got a job as serving the empresses. And it was during the time that she wrote the tale of Kenji, the story, the love and power spinning for like 54 chapters. She wrote it for money, for job, but so what, right? Her writing resonated deeply with those around her. She found her readers, and in doing so, she found purpose. She began observing the life around her even more keenly, and even writing about herself in the diary of Murasaki Kishipu that also was published, and still you can buy it even on Amazon. The diary is still studied today as a key historical reference for all kinds of scholars about the Heian period, female's life. The scholars often describe Shikibu as being the sensitive to life and death. But I think our current pop culture have been abusive to using the vocabulary sensitive. It isn't the right word anymore. I would say that she's conscious. She's just extremely conscious that she saw her life and death differently, and almost as a writer could treat herself like a character. That's life writer's eyes and writer's living experience. They question. And their purpose is not to learn about what they know, is to learn about what they don't know. That's her she's writing, exploring all those different kinds of human relations built into what she loved and she experienced, and to tell the world what she have saw and what she haven't learned. And if you're a writer, then exactly what this is to me. I personally visit her the historical home, Losanji, in January 2024. It was a beautiful place. And as a writer myself, I've always been fascinated by other writers' space, their homes, their desks, the tools that they used. There's just something about a writer's rooms and their desk. That's the room of themselves, and it's a space that imbued with all the magics, and where the thoughts and transform into words, and where the bookshelf reflects the worlds and the writer have to build and borrowed. I love it, and I just love this production, written by a female writer, tells another female writer in the history, the most famous one in the history, about her life. It's kind of like their life combined together, and me watching this as a writer myself now, it's just so meaningful. I really like this NHK Taiga Dolama's production about Murasaki Kishipu, even though there's so many fictional parts, even though they're really, I think, didn't tell the truth about Michinaka, this man in the center of the power. But still, this is a good production with great music and great audience and great writers. Thank you again for tuning in to the Thursday Night Kissaten podcast. I'm your host Cordelia. Stay tuned for the next episode, and have a good night.